Good day. Today I want to review some piece of lapidary equipment that pretty much everybody can afford. I want to try to polish some larger surfaces, but I'm not going to tumble the stone. Let's say you have something that's large, it doesn't fit into a tumbler, or maybe it's something that goes on a bookshelf, maybe a bookend. Maybe it's a larger piece and it's heavy, and you want to get a polish on that. So I've got a bunch of these that I'd like to do maybe as paperweights. They look really cool sitting around. But I wanted to demonstrate a piece of equipment that I bought for under $100. It's made by a company called Vevor. Vevor is a Chinese company, and I'm not sponsored in any way by Vevor. And I'm not saying there's not a bunch of other ones out there, because I think there might be. And it's basically a wet polisher grinder. They call it a grinder, but it's more of a wet polisher in my opinion. Let me just break away and show you what this piece of equipment looks like. It's got electrical and water coming into it, and has 6 speeds, anywhere between, listed right on the back here, anywhere between 1100 per minute to 4000 per minute. 1100 is not exactly a polishing speed, but it's a good speed. But this is what we're going to use today, and it kind of has like a hook pad technology. So these things are stuck on like that, and you can peel them off and then just go with the next grit and stick that on. And that's what you do. You basically work down through the grits, and you go from very rough scratches to very fine scratches, and in the end we hope to get a finished product that's either been ground down significantly or polished. I'll show you more details about this, such as the various speeds you can use, or the switches, or the control over the water supply. It's really a pretty good thing for what you get for $100. And so far it's worked flawlessly for me for what it was purchased to do, almost. So what you're going to see in this video is a couple of rocks that I want to bring to the little wet grinder polisher thing, and let's see how it does with some average rocks that I have here. And this is something that might be an alternative to a flat lap. Like if you have a lot of money, maybe if you have $1,000, you can drop this on a flat lap and it will do really, really well. Multiple grades, you step it through the whole process. If you have something bigger or something heavier like this, it's not going to be so easy, and your flat lap is going to cost $5,000. So I wanted to see if there was something economical. Shout out to Nate over at Quest for Details for doing a review on this piece of equipment a year or two ago, and I picked one up, and I think it's been a pretty good purchase. But as you're going to find from this, it doesn't quite take everything to a complete polish, like a wet polish, like I'd like to really see. But you're going to see that it does a pretty good job with the rocks that we throw at it. Anyway, that's it. Hope you can learn something from this video. I plan on doing another video which is going to be just mostly a breakdown of the actual review and show how to modify the little Vevor thing, because when you get it, most people don't know what to do with it, and there's a really good reason why. It's because it comes to you in a way that is not usable. You have to actually modify the thing to make it functional, and most people probably just give up and 1 star. And so it's been useful for me, and you'll see it in action. Thanks. So what I think I'd like to do is I'd like to use this rock for our polishing video, but first I want to angle the top, I think. little more geometrically square. So let's throw this into the rock saw, and it's pretty square. It should hold up pretty well in this position. Sometimes I like to brace the rock with another block of wood. Yeah. So what I like to do is typically get an equivalent size stack of wood that also sits on the same side of the vise. That way the load is balanced on the beam. It's not focusing too much pressure on any one part of the rock. And so I'm just going to run the cut right down there and down that line. So you probably can't hear me with this racket, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take down some uneven edges off of this with the grinder. So we're going to take that down, take down a couple of edges that are high on this stone. By the way, when you're running this thing, you should at least have some minimal protection, because this smoke is full of, rock debris, grease, other stuff, bad. So minimally wear this. I usually wear a gas mask. By the way, this Raytech here, when you're working with a grinder, one thing I'd recommend doing is wearing at least an N95 mask. because the air is full of little rock particles and you don't want to get that in your lungs. Another thing that I highly recommend is a set of earplugs, because you, especially when you're grinding something like an agate, which is really hard, you don't want to go deaf or get tinnitus early in your life just because you didn't pay attention to that. And lastly, most importantly, you want a set of glasses. So these are not, our museum grade guys. Like, this is just going to end up being a paperweight on my desk. Normally for something this small, I probably want to finish it on a grinder like this, so small. But I'm gonna use the Vevor, and we're gonna test it out. I've got to polish these rocks, and you could always use a grinder, but not everybody has access to a grinder. So I'm going to use this. This is a Vevor 5156. I'll leave a link in below. But you're going to need two things to drive this, and one is power and one is water. So the Vevor itself comes with adjustable handle, a lockout on this. It comes with a 5-inch and an additional 4-inch. It comes with a number of polishing pads that go anywhere between 50, 100, 200, all the way to 3,000. It also comes with a handle, so it's kind of like a rotohammer. You can put more pressure on it if you want to, which is important if you want to grind. So additional grip pads are available on Amazon. As you're going to see, this is, in my opinion, more of a wet polisher than it is a wet grinder. Just throwing that out there. And I've made a number of modifications to it. If you're interested, I'll go through a couple of them really fast. But I left an Amazon review that covers them, and I'll leave a link to that. Well, I apologize for the background noise because we have an air conditioning system right behind me. But what we're going to polish today, agate, which is from Utah, jasper, which is actually from Utah as well. I'd like to polish up most of this septarian to get it looking good, maybe. An additional septarian, maybe an Indian blanket left over. This is a California combination of lavic, which is jasper. This is a Utah jasper, which this is some Arizona travertine. This is also some Utah Summit agate, and because it's hot outside, this Vevor unit is going to make a ton of water. And even though this is actually pretty. Anyway, so that's what we're going to use. I'm going to start it with a 100 grit. As you can see, the water is adjustable with a valve, so you can have it all the way, or you can turn it off almost all the way with this valve. So I'm going to leave it like that. Basically, try to center that, just like that. When you turn it on, it has a speed on it. Currently it's on 3. We're going to leave it on 3, and it has a lock when you squeeze the trigger. It can be locked. One thing you've probably noticed is that it gives off a lot of water. So even though there's some water deferring techniques, such as to funnel it different directions, and I've put a lot of waterproofing features into this, unfortunately, it's like going to Wet and Wild water park and expecting not to get wet. You're going to get wet. So we've just run the pile through. I think we're going to be time challenged based on how much time I have today. But we're taking the 100 grit off, and we're going to be exchanging that for a 200 grit now. So we're just going to run through these one at a time, kind of giving the Vevor unit a little chance to breathe. I'm holding it here. You're able to hold it with one hand. You don't really need to get up here and crank on it with two hands. Also, it helps if you have something like a pile of t-shirts or something to hold the rock or the suspect while you're doing the work. This is a lockout right here. So if you push this, it will make it so that you can take that off and on and go. Water is adjustable. My focus is not. I'm just doing a 1/over, very quick work for each rock. I'm probably spending between 30 and 60 seconds. I have to admit, when I first bought the grinder, my intentions were to grind down larger stones like this, which is from the Colorado River Basin between Laughlin, what's that town? The one with the London Bridge in it. I can't remember the name of that town. Sorry. But it's, Colorado River. And I wanted to do this, but unfortunately the grinder is not so much of a grinder that it's going to take out huge scars like this. And I don't have a 100-pound tumbler. I mean, that's what I think it would take. This is I don't know, maybe 5 pounds. But just a detour a little from our project. I just wanted to mention that. The sun is starting to come over and take over my spot, which means direct sunlight pretty soon. We just finished the 3000 grit equivalent to those you'd find on any grinder. We're gonna strap on the 6000 grit. Mental note to self here: do not attempt to polish like 10 rocks unless you have arms like Popeye the Sailor Man. The grinder's been going pretty well. We've been out here in the sun for about 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours, and we're not overheating the grinder. We are kind of overheating the foam, and the operator behind the phone. But the Vevor unit is holding up. It's not really overheating. Also, it's a smart thing to wear gloves. I'm not wearing any gloves. I'll get back. Okay, I gotta mention something. So, previously I did not use the number 5 or the number 2 grit, assuming that they were polishing grits. I just ran the 2 and the 5 over this. This is the 2, and it's funny because when I bought this kit, these were in an order, and the 2 and the 5 were at the very end after the 3,000 in the kit. So it's 3,000, 5, 2. So I'd assume that these are polishes. However, this is like an anti-polish. As you can see, or maybe not see, this is what it looks like before we started. Okay. And this is what it looks like after we ran 6,000 on this side and all the other grits. And then this is what it looks like after we just ran the 2 and the 5. Letting you know in case you buy the kit, those are not polished grits. The 2 and the 5 are the roughest of all of them. Alright, how do we do? I want to get this before I lose my sunlight, but we spent about 3 or 4 hours out here and we've learned a few things from our Vevor. The first thing is we do not have what I consider to be a wet polish. Ignore the air conditioning unit in the back, it's 108 outside. But if you notice, this is a good polish, shiny. But if you look at this, if you see it wet, take my wet shirt here. Okay, wet looks better than the shine. And that's because this kit only comes to 3,000 and I only have a 6,000 grit. So here's another one. This is me, and that's just me. What happens when you don't spot check? Again, a wet rock is prettier. The travertine, again, is prettier if it's wet. This is not bad if you consider that this is what it looked like, okay, before we started. This is what it looks like now. So is this done? No. Is it pretty? It's pretty shiny, you see. So here's a really, really hard agate from southern Utah. And again, does it look better wet? Yes. It's fine if I finish it. So I've got to finish polish these things. This Vevor only takes things to 3,000. I had a 6,000 pad. Oh, here's one that I did once before. This is a lavic jasper, brecciated jasper. You can see it's a little bit better when it's wet. It has a great shine on it. It's just you cannot see into the stone. Here's a Wonderstone, Arizona. It's got a good shine on it. Is it perfect? No. I mean, compared to the original rock, I think it's an improvement. But wet, see it? Looks better. Here's an agate from southern Nevada. Is it better wet? Yes, you can see into the stone. So I want to see into the stone. That's my end goal. So I got to polish every one of these. I got to find a polishing online. Maybe there's something I can use, like a polishing pad. Okay, phone died on command. Here's our Septarian, which I wanted really to turn out great. I just think that I could have spent more time, like, paying attention to the little details, like maybe the top corners not being done, so I'm gonna have to hit this again. And you can see it's a little rough up here in some areas that I didn't focus on, but I think it came out okay. I mean, it's just going to go on my desk. It's a paperweight, but rule of thumb is spot check in between grits, and that goes for every type of lapidary work you can do, whether on a grinder or on a hand grinder. People, it might be okay. Maybe a table, it might be okay. I need to obviously hang it. It started to come apart right there. I need to fix that and regrind that. I'm going to probably just didn't bring out the color like a real polish over each surface only. But some of these, you can see that the shine is there. It's definitely there. See how it's like more shine on the outside? This is what happens whenever you polish anything, even in a polishing machine. I think it would favor the inside just almost as much as it favors the outsides. Hoping that's the case. At any rate, under $100, I think it's $88 on Amazon. I'm probably going to do another write-up that, see, even here you can see on the outside, just a little bit more polished, a little more depth. Took a little bit better. So I've got to change my technique maybe, so that these insides get... All right, what did we learn? Well, the Vevor wet grinder polisher is a pretty good machine, and it's pretty economical, but it only comes to about a 3,000 grit. So my criticism of this product is I wish they had sent a 6,000 or a 12,000 grit or polish with the kit. I purchased a 6,000 on my own with some extra polishing pads or grinding pads that I thought I would need, and it just turns out that 6,000 isn't quite enough. I'm going to need to find some, one of those, I think they call these things like a hook. It's like a Velcro pad. You'll see it. You saw it. I think there's probably some polishing ones out there. I'll just find those, and then I'll finish these. I'll finish this guy. I really wanted this guy, for my desk. This little Superior guy. He kind of opened up a vog here, which was unexpected, and he also had a little piece kind of come apart there. So I'm going to have to take this down a little further. And we also learned that they give you a 2 and a 5 in this kit. And the 2 and the 5 will scratch the heck out of leaf. But I think it's a great value. It represents a really good value, in my opinion, for people that just want to try to get a bookend or something. I don't know if there's a whole bunch of other ones out there. And this is just the one that I reviewed. And then I'll probably set up a second review for other conclusions about how to modify this thing exactly so that this works for you right when you get it, not after you figure out all the gotchas, because there's a bunch of little things that are not self-explanatory, which is probably the reason why there's a lot of one-star reviews on Amazon. So I mentioned if you were going to purchase one of these things, you could go to Amazon or go to the Vevor website. These things list for $105, but there's a 15% off if you just sign up with your email address, and that gives it an $88 or an $89. This kit includes a lot of the polishing pads that maybe the lesser kit. There's one with just like 2 pads, which might save you some money. But if you purchase this thing, here's what you need to know. First of all, I've put together a few slides which kind of like illustrate this. What is wrong with it? You're going to have to actually make changes to this to get this to work. And I think that's the most frustrating part with people. Number one, you're going to find that there's a Chinese air hose fitting at the end instead of a water fitting. That's going to be frustrating for you. So you cannot hook this up to a pressure washer or something like that. You need to cut this off, and you're not going to save this nut. It leaked like crazy. So this connects to the actual Vevor unit, and I wanted it to leak a lot less. So I had some rubber grommet laying around, and I cut a couple pieces off and made bushings and stuck those bushings inside, and that helps a lot with it not leaking like crazy. Next is, this is where those rubber grommet goes inside this guy. So I put Teflon tape and I put Permatex on this connector because this connector wanted to leak like crazy, and so did this connector, these two metal pieces. So Teflon tape and Permatex on both of those. That's recommended. I put a, these two did not want to stay together. They kept twisting and coming apart and leaking. And so I put a fashioned lock washer, I'm sorry, to be precise with that. The one thing you're going to need is this rain drip piece. It's the 3/4 inch hose, which is your average garden hose. So you're going to want to hook this up to your garden hose since you can't hook it to your pressure washer. And this is a 1/4 inch drip valve fitting here. This is nice because it comes with a little screen, the rain drip one, and that filters out particles so they don't get to your Vevor unit, and that's kind of nice to have. But this is available for about $3 or $4 on Amazon. And the inside diameter of this is, of course, 1/4 inch to do rain drip stuff. Here's what your average rain drip, like line that you have running to drip emitters in your yard, your irrigation in your yard looks like that. But unfortunately, once you've cut off that fitting at the end, you're going to find that this is 5/16 outside diameter on the hose for the Vevor. So you're going to have to whittle this down some. You can use a pocket knife. I just used a grinder and I whittled that down. Then once that's whittled down, you just press it in, and this will hold it in very, very well. It has like barbs on the inside that hold, and then you've connected that piece. That's really all you need to do. You don't need to PVC and Permatex everything with Teflon tape like I've done here, or use tie straps. I use tie straps all the way back to about 5 or 6 feet, mostly so I could separate the water from the electricity. I just wanted to keep the electrical connection separate from the water connection, and I just took it back all the way to about 5 or 6 feet to do so, but just showing you what I did. It does a good job polishing stone, polishes the outside better, just like maybe your rock polisher does. A little more work on the inside, maybe improving my technique, might get a better result, but yeah, it has good results. One more thing. This Vevor comes with these two attachments right here. These are a surprising size. These are the M14 metric thread, right? So if you're already working with a lot of industrial equipment, especially when it has this hook, this is called like a hook and pad kind of combination, okay? If you're working with this type of equipment, all your American stuff can be like 5/8, 11. And if you have a bunch of these hook pad types, pad hook things laying around, you're going to find that it does not fit the Vevor unit, because the Vevor unit is looking for a metric M14 thread. So it comes with two M14s, but if you have a bunch of pads, that's great because it'll stick on. But if you have a bunch of these and you're hoping for it to work, it won't. Just letting you know, there's an adapter for like $9 on eBay that converts an M14 to a 5/8, 11. Okay, that's about it. Anyway, that's it for this one, and I hope some part of it was entertaining or educational, and I'll continue working with this guy. If I've got any other updates, I'll post another video. But until then, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.